The prayer this morning will be offered by the good delegate from Anne Arundel County.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Many holy texts advise us to pray for those in authority and in leadership. So I offer this prayer for my colleagues, for our governor, for our speaker, our Senate president, and our colleagues across the hall. Lord, we thank you for this day. We thank you for the sacred opportunity to make laws on behalf of people whom you loved and have created. We thank you for the opportunity to convene peaceably. We ask that you would bless us with your mercy, bless us with humility, and allow us to do good work. Amen.
Amen. Quorum call.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their presence? If so, the clerk will take the call. There being 119 members present, the House is now in session. Clerk will read the journal from the previous day.
Annapolis, Maryland, March the 27th, 2022.
Recognizing a Deputy Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. So much be considered the reading of the journal.
So ordered, petitions, memorials, and other papers. Message from the Senate. Senate bills introduced in the House. The clerk will read the bills and committee assignments.
Senate Bill 814, Senator Hester, House Rules. Senate Bill 896, Senator Smith, House Rules. By Order of Sylvia Seeger, Chief Clerk. I got it.
House bill amended in the Senate. The clerk will read the bill and the Senate amendments.
House Bill 136, Education, Public and Non-Public Schools, Seizure Action Plans, Brindley's Act, Amendment number 1.
Madam Speaker,
Recognizing the Majority Leader.
I move not to concur in the Senate amendments.
Motion for the House is to not to concur in the Senate amendments. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The amendments are rejected. Clerk will read the message to the Senate.
Ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, the House of Delegates refuses to concur in the Senate amendments and respectfully requests the Senate receive from its position. Should the Senate prefer a conference committee to confer the disagreeing votes of the two houses, the House appoints Delegate Ebersol, Chair, Delegate Griffith, Delegate Wilkins. Said bill was returned herewith.
House bill amended in the Senate. The clerk will read the bill and the Senate amendments.
House Bill 147, Maryland Farms and Families Fund, Maryland Food and Agricultural Resiliency Mechanism Grant Program, and Maryland Farm to School Meal Grant Pilot Program, Alterations and Establishment, Amendment number 1.
Recognizing the committee chair.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. We move not to concur in the Senate amendment.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The amendments are rejected. Clerk will read the message to the Senate.
Ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, the House of Delegates refuses to concur in the Senate amendments and respectfully requests the Senate receive from its position. Should the Senate confer a conference committee to confer the disagreeing votes of the two houses, the House appoints Delegate Gilchrist, Chair, Delegate Otto, and Delegate Washington. Said bill is returned herewith.
House bill amended in the Senate. The clerk will read the bill and the Senate amendments.
Senate Bill 622, Renewable Energy Portfolio Standard and Renewable Energy Credits, Offshore Wind, Amendment number 1.
Recognizing someone. Recognizing the committee chair.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Move not to concur.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The amendments are rejected. Clerk will read the message to the Senate.
Ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, the House of Delegates refuses to concur in the Senate amendments and respectfully requests the Senate receive from its position. Said bill is returned herewith.
House bill amended in the Senate. The clerk will read the bill and the Senate amendments.
House Bill 1055, Baltimore City, Maryland Transit Administration, Transit Services for Public School Students and Youth Workers.
Recognizing the committee chair.
We move not to concur.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The amendments are rejected. Clerk will read the message to the Senate.
Ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, the House of Delegates refuse to concur in the Senate amendments and respectfully request the Senate receive from its position. Said bill is returned herewith.
Report of the Committee on Economic Matters, report number 25. Clerk will read the first bill.
Senate Bill 167, Maryland Insurance Administration Enforcement Authority, payment of claims, favorable.
Question for the House is the adoption of the favorable report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The favorable report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered to pass for third reading. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 175, Fiduciary Institutions Investigation of Financial Abuse and Financial Exploitation, Records Disclosure, favorable.
Question for the House is the adoption of the favorable report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Favorable report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered past the third reading. Clerk, read next bill.
Senate Bill 182, State Board of Electricians Sunset Extension, favorable.
Question for the House is the adoption of the favorable report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Favorable report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered passed for third reading. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 184, State Board of Heating, Ventilation, Air Conditioning, and Refrigeration Contractors Sunset Extension, favorable.
Question for the House is the adoption of the favorable report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Favorable report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered passed for third reading. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 188, Insurance Managing General Agents, Review Requirements, favorable.
Question for the House is the adoption of the favorable report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The favorable report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered passed for third reading. Clerk, read next bill.
Senate Bill 193, State Board of Plumbing, Sunset Extension, favorable.
Question for the House is adoption of the favorable report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The favorable report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered passed for third reading. Clerk, read next bill.
Senate Bill 211, State Board for Professional Engineers, Sunset Extension, favorable.
Question for the House is the adoption of the favorable report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Favorable report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered passed for third reading. Clerk, read next bill.
Senate Bill 219, Office of Cemetery Oversight, Sunset Extension, favorable.
Question for the House is the adoption of the favorable report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Favorable report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered passed to third reading. Report of the Committee on Economic Matters, report number 26. Clerk will read the first bill.
Senate Bill 199, State Board of Architects, Sunset Extension, favor the amendments. Amendment number 1.
Recognizing the Vice Chair of the Committee.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Move so much be the reading of the amendment.
So ordered.
The amendment extends the sunset date to 2033. Move the amendment.
Question for the House is the adoption of the amendment. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Amendments have been adopted. Question now is adoption of the favorable report as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Favorable report is adopted. Are there any additional amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered past the third reading. Clerk, read next bill.
Senate Bill 205, Division of Workforce Development and Adult Learning, Apprenticeship and Training Council, Sunset Extension, favor the amendments. Amendment number 1.
Recognizing the Vice Chair of the Committee.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Move so much be the reading of the amendment.
So ordered.
The amendment extends the sunset date to 2034. Move the amendment.
Question for the House is the adoption of the amendment. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The amendment has been adopted. Question now is the adoption of the favorable report as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Favorable report is adopted. Are there any additional amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered past the third reading. Clerk, read next bill.
Senate Bill 213, State Commission of Real Estate Appraisers, Appraisal Management Companies, and Home Inspectors, Sunset Extension, favor the amendments. Amendment number 1.
Vice Chair of the Committee.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Move so much be the reading of the amendment.
So ordered.
The amendment extends the sunset date to 2033. Move the amendment.
Question before the House is the adoption of the amendment. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The amendment has been adopted. Question now is the adoption of the favorable report as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The favorable report is adopted. Are there any additional amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered past the third reading. Clerk, read next bill.
Senate Bill 217, Commissioner of Financial Regulation, Consumer Loans, Payments and Fees. Favor the amendments. Amendment number 1.
Recognizing Vice Chair of the Committee.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Move so much be the reading of the amendment.
So ordered.
Amendment number 1 requires a person to give certain notice to the Commissioner of Financial Regulation regarding how a fee is calculated at least 30 days before requiring a borrower to pay the fee. Move the amendment.
Question for the House is the adoption of the amendment. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The amendment has been adopted. The question now is adoption of the favorable report as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Favorable report is adopted. Are there any additional amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered passed for third reading. Report of the Committee on Environment and Transportation. Report number 29. Clerk will read the first bill.
Senate Bill 61, Maryland Transit Administration, Conversion to Zero-Emission Buses, Zero-Emission Bus Transition Act revisions. Favorable.
Question for the House is the adoption of the favorable report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The favorable report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered past the third reading. Clerk will read next bill.
Senate Bill 80, Motor Vehicle Registration, Exceptions for Golf Carts, Hooper's Island and Taylor's Island. Favorable.
Question for the House is the adoption of the favorable report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The favorable report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered past the third reading. Clerk, read next bill.
Senate Bill 489, Queen Anne's County, Public Safety, Buildings Used for Agritourism. Favorable.
Question for the House is the adoption of the favorable report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Favorable report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered past the third reading. Clerk, read next bill.
Senate Bill 665, Natural Resources, Healing, Hunting, and Fishing Fund, no-cost licenses and stamps. Favorable.
Question for the House is the adoption of the favorable report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Favorable report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered past the third reading. Clerk, read next bill.
Senate Bill 830, Natural Resources, Oysters, Spat Shells, and Substrate. Favorable.
Question for the House is the adoption of the favorable report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Favorable report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or to its title? Recognize the gentleman from Talbot.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I've got an amendment request in, but the amendment is not ready. And I would ask the indulgence of perhaps just holding this until the end of the calendar. It'll be ready this morning. It's in drafting right now.
Committee Chair?
Well, it is a Senate bill. We can amend it on third reading. I don't want to slow this down.
So, okay.
I
So,
prefer not to special order it because it can be amended on third reader.
oh, the second reader? Gotcha. No
Yeah.
problem. Thank you.
Okay.
Madam Speaker, I withdraw my request.
Just going to ask you that. Are there any amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered passed for third reading. Clerk will read next bill.
Senate Bill 900, Cecil County, Fishing, revisions. Favorable.
Question for the House is the adoption of the favorable report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Favorable report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered passed for third reading. Report of the Committee on Health and Government Operations, report number 21. Clerk will read the first bill.
Senate Bill 12, Behavioral Health Crisis Response Services and Public Safety Answering Points, modifications. Favorable amendments. Amendment number 1.
Recognizing Vice Chair of the Committee.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Good morning.
Good morning.
Move so much be considered the reading of the amendment.
So ordered.
Thank you. As amended, Senate Bill 12 is identical to House Bill 129, which passed the House by a vote of 92 to 39. Amendment number 1 requires the public safety answering points policy to include training for applicable staff on implementing the procedures to be followed when a call is received that involves an individual suffering an active mental health crisis. Move the amendment, Madam Speaker.
Question for the House is the adoption of the amendments. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The amendments is are adopted. Question now is the adoption of the favorable report as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The favorable report is adopted. Are there any additional amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered past the third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 331, Program for Preventing HIV Infection for Rape Victims, Alterations and Repeal of Sunset, favorable.
Question for the House is the adoption of the favorable report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Favorable report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered passed for third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 788, Cannabis Regulation, Medical Cannabis Definition and Study, favorable amendments. Amendment number 1.
Recognizing the Vice Chair of the Committee.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Move so much be considered the reading of the amendments.
So ordered.
As amended, Senate Bill 788 is identical to the cross-file 1078, which passed the House by a vote of 132 to 0. Amendment number 1 makes technical changes. Amendment number 2 prohibits a person who distributes products containing Delta 8 or Delta 10 THC from purchasing for sale or selling those products to an individual under the age of 21 years, and strikes provisions of the bill that would have made it an emergency bill. Move the amendments, Madam Speaker.
Question for the House is the adoption of the amendments. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The amendments have been adopted. Question now is adoption of the favorable report as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Favorable report is adopted. Are there any additional amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered passed for third reading. Report of the Committee on Judiciary, report number 35. Clerk will read the first bill.
House Bill 529, Estates and Trusts, Supported Decision-Making, favorable amendments. Amendment number 1.
Recognizing the committee chair.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Move so much be the reading of the amendments.
So ordered.
The amendments to House Bill 529 conform the bill to Senate Bill 559, which I think we're going to hear in a second. Move the amendments.
Question for the House is the adoption of the amendment. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The amendments have been adopted. Question now is adoption of the favorable report as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Favorable report is adopted. Are there any additional amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered printed for third reading. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 559, Estates and Trusts, Supported Decision-Making, favorable.
Question for the House is the adoption of the favorable report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Favorable report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered past the third reading. Report of the Committee on Judiciary, report number 36. Clerk will read first.
House Bill 1011, Conditions of Pretrial Release, Home Detention Monitoring, Alterations and Extension, favorable amendments. Amendment number 1.
Recognizing the committee chair.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Move so much be the reading of the amendments.
So ordered.
The amendments conform the bill to Senate Bill 704, which we'll hear in a moment. Move the amendments.
Question for the House is the adoption of the amendments. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The amendments have been adopted. Question now is adoption of the favorable report as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The favorable report is adopted. Are there any additional amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered printed for third reading. Clerk, read next bill.
Senate Bill 704, Conditions of Pretrial Release, Home Detention Monitoring, Alterations and Extension, favorable amendments. Amendment number 1.
Recognizing the committee chair.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Move so much be the reading of the amendments.
So ordered.
Amendment number 1 is technical. Amendment number 2 strikes industry representatives from the work group on home detention monitoring. Move the amendments.
Question for the House is the adoption of the amendments. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The amendments have been adopted. Question now is adoption of the favorable report as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Favorable report is adopted. Are there any additional amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered past the third reading. Report of the Committee on Ways and Means, report number 26. Clerk will read the first bill.
House Bill 386, Small Minority and Women-Owned Businesses Account, Local State of Emergency. Favorable amendments. Amendment number 1.
Recognizing the floor leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. So much to be considered the reading of the amendments.
So ordered.
The amendments limit the expanded use of the small minority and women-owned business account under the bill to businesses and nonprofit organizations in Anne Arundel County for a period of 2 years and establishes a work group to study establishment of a state disaster relief fund. Move the amendments.
Question for the House is the adoption of the amendment. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The amendments have been adopted. Question now is adoption of the favorable report as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Favorable report is adopted. Are there any additional amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered printed for third reading. Clerk will read next bill.
House Bill 405, Income Tax Mechanical Insulation Installation Tax Credit. Favorable amendments. Amendment number 1.
Recognizing the floor leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Move so much be considered the reading of the amendments.
So ordered.
The amendments establish a grant program rather than a tax credit administered by the Maryland Energy Administration to provide grants to individuals, nonprofit organizations, and business entities for certain costs incurred to install mechanical insulation on commercial or industrial buildings. Clarify the definition of qualified expenses and sunset the program after 5 years. Move the committee amendments.
The question for the House is the adoption of the amendments. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The amendments have been adopted. The question now is adoption of the favorable report as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The favorable report is adopted. Gentleman from Calvert.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I just have a couple of questions about this for the floor leader. Good morning.
Floor leader.
Good morning. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Good morning. I was reading this bill this morning, and it caught my eye. What is mechanical insulation?
So mechanical insulation is insulation to the mechanical systems of the building, the heating and cooling, HVAC, piping systems, those insulating those systems.
And so this bill provides an income tax credit for people who do what?
The bill does not provide an income tax credit. The amendments I just read,
Okay.
it's changed to a grant program that would be administered by the Maryland Energy Administration.
So it was an income tax credit, the bill, and now it's just free money completely.
It's a grant program for mechanical insulation for energy efficiency that exceeds the requirements for the building.
And who is eligible to receive the free money to put insulation around their mechanical equipment?
It's for commercial or industrial buildings, so the owners of those buildings.
And who testified for this?
Please hold.
Sure, thank you. I appreciate it.
Sure. Yep. So it was the Insulators Labor Management Cooperative Trust, Insulators and Allied Workers, Local 24, and the Climate Justice Wing of the Maryland Legislative Coalition.
So it sounds like then those are all labor union related organizations.
I apologize. Also the Greater Baltimore Committee, the Maryland State and DC AFL-CIO, AIA Maryland Incorporated, Lith Home LLC. Those were the favorable testimonies.
Thank you, Floor Leader. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Appreciate it.
Are there any additional amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered printed for third reading. Clerk, read next bill.
House Bill 1282, Property Tax Agricultural Use Assessment Improvements. Favorable amendments. Amendment number 1.
Recognizing the floor leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Move so much to be considered the reading of the amendments.
So ordered.
The amendments strike the bill as written and require the Department of Agriculture and the Department of Assessments and Taxation to conduct a joint study about how to assess improvements on agricultural land. A report on the study is due by December 1st, 2022. Move the amendments.
Question for the House is the adoption of the amendments. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Amendments have been adopted. Question now is the adoption of the favorable report as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The favorable report is adopted. Are there any additional amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered printed for third reading. Clerk, read next bill.
House Bill 1479, Maryland Technology Development Corporation, Maryland Equity Investment Fund, established. Favor the amendments. Amendment number 1.
Recognizing the floor leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Move so much to be considered the reading of the amendments.
So ordered.
The amendments confirm to the bill to its cross-file Senate Bill 885 by clarifying that the types of businesses in which TEDCO may invest under the bill and makes a technical correction. Move the amendment, Madam Speaker.
Question for the House is the adoption of the amendments. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The amendment has been adopted. Question now is adoption of the favorable report as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Favorable report is adopted. Are there any additional amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered printed for third reading. Clerk, read next bill.
Senate Bill 191, Maryland Department of Commerce, Transparency and Efficiency in Reporting Act. Favor the amendments. Amendment number 1.
Madam Speaker.
Recognizing the floor leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Moves much be considered the reading of the amendments.
So ordered.
The amendments clarify the information required to be published on the Department of Commerce's website and provisions of law concerning the implementation of the Purple Line Construction Zone Grant Program. Move the amendments.
Question for the House is the adoption of the amendments. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The amendments have been adopted. Question now is the adoption of the favorable report as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Favorable report is adopted. Are there any additional amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered printed for third reading. Pass the third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 210, Tax Credits, Employer Provided Commuter Benefits, Expansion and Administration. Favorable.
Question for the House is the adoption of the favorable report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Favorable report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered past the third reading. Clerk, read next bill.
Senate Bill 215, Income Tax, Energy Storage Tax Credit, Alterations and Extension. Favor the amendments. Amendment number 1.
Recognizing the majority leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Move so much to be considered the reading of the amendments.
So ordered.
The amendments extend the existing energy storage system tax credit for 2 years, and at that point, replace the tax credit with a grant program for systems installed on or after January 1st, 2025. Move the amendments.
Question for the House is the adoption of the amendments. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The amendments have been adopted. The question now is adoption of the favorable report as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The favorable report is adopted. Are there any additional amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered past the third reading. Clerk will read next bill.
Senate Bill 234, Public Schools Purple Star Schools Program Establishment. Favorable.
Question for the House is the adoption of the favorable report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Favorable report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered past the third reading. Clerk, read next bill.
Senate Bill 247, State Department of Assessments and Taxation, Real Property Assessments and Appeals. Favor the amendments. Amendment number 1.
Recognizing the floor leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. So much be considered the reading of the amendments.
So ordered.
The amendments are technical. Move the amendments.
Question for the House is the adoption of the amendments. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The amendments have been adopted. Question now is adoption of the favorable report as amended.
Madam
All
Speaker.
in favor signify by saying aye.
Madam Speaker.
Opposed, I see you. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The favorable report is adopted. General Lady from Carroll. I
Thank
have
you.
to do the report first.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Okay.
Who's the floor leader on the bill? Question. Can you tell me, as amended, what this bill does now?
Yeah, 1 second. Yeah, all the amendments are technical, but the bill itself requires SDAT to publish on its website a plain language description of how property is accessed, lists criteria that may be considered during a property tax appeal, and requires local government to be notified when an appeal reduces the value of commercial property by more than 20% and allows government to appeal the decision within 90 days.
Thank you. I just noticed that there was some testimony in the file from the State Department of Assessment and Taxation, basically concerned that the language was unconstitutional in the bill, and it explains why, and there's been some court cases. Has that been corrected in the bill?
Yes, that's been fixed.
So did the Department of Assessment and Taxation affirmatively give their positive reaction to this bill?
That's correct.
And I noticed there was a lot of opposition in committee. Can you explain what that opposition was?
Well, the bill was voted in committee by party line 15-7.
Do you remember what that discussion was? I'm just concerned because I'm reading the testimony. I don't see additional testimony from SDAT saying that they removed their opposition as being unconstitutional. I'm just trying to figure out if they did indeed remove it after the bill was amended.
Yeah, SDAT didn't have a problem with the bill. It was, I think in committee, it was the appeal by local government.
Excuse me, it was what?
It was the appeal from local government that had concerns from the committee.
So a local government had concerns about the bill. I'm trying to figure out what the opposition was. All I have in front of me is the testimony that is on the line, and then some votes against it. I'm trying to figure out what the opposition is that still remains. I mean, if you don't know, that's okay. I'll try to find out between today and tomorrow on third reader.
Yeah, no, listen, I think the appeal was from the minority party that had concerns with the local government appeal.
The local government. Did DeMaco weigh in on this at all?
No, they did not.
Okay, I'll check before third reading. Thank you.
Yep.
Are there any additional amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered past the third reading. Clerk, read next bill.
Senate Bill 310, Anne Arundel County and City of Annapolis Small Minority and Women-Owned Businesses Account, Local State of Emergency. Favor the amendments. Amendment number 1.
Recognizing the floor leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. So much to be considered the reading of the amendments.
So ordered.
The amendments conform the bill to its House cross file HB 386. Move the amendments.
Question for the House is the adoption of the amendments. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The amendments have been adopted. The question now is the adoption of the favorable report as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Favorable report is adopted. Are there any additional amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered passed for third reading. Clerk, read next bill.
Senate Bill 421, Primary and Secondary Schools Bus Driver Wages Study. Favorable amendments. Amendment number 1.
Recognized Vice Chair of the Committee.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Move so much be considered the reading of the amendments.
So ordered.
Amendment number 1 is technical. Amendment number 2 replaces the Governor's Workforce Development Board with the Department of Transportation in consultation with the State Department of Education as the entity responsible for performing the analysis into bus driver wages and benefits. We move the amendments.
Question for the House is the adoption of the amendments. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The amendments have been adopted. The question now is the adoption of the favorable report as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Favorable report is adopted. Are there any additional amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered passed for third reading. Clerk, read next bill.
Senate Bill 473, Economic Development Maryland Innovation Initiative Program, qualifying donations. Favorable.
Question for the House is the adoption of the favorable report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Favorable report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered to pass the third reading. Clerk, read next bill.
Senate Bill 474, Economic Development Western Maryland Economic Future Investment Board and Fund Establishment. Favor the amendments. Amendment number 1.
Recognizing the minority leader.
I am actually today, Madam Speaker, the floor leader on this bill to introduce the committee amendments. The amendments conform the bill to its cross-file House Bill H38, which has already passed this House and is a wonderful piece of legislation despite its obvious sponsorship flaw. Move the amendments.
Question for the House is the adoption of the amendments. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The amendments have been adopted. The question now is adoption of the favorable report as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Favorable report is adopted. Are there any additional amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered passed for third reading. Clerk, read next bill.
Senate Bill 567, Property Tax Agricultural Use Assessment Improvements. Favor the amendments. Amendment number 1.
The amendment conforms the bill to its House cross-file, House Bill 1282. Move the amendment.
Question for the House is the adoption of the amendment. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The amendments have been adopted. Question now is adoption of the favorable report as amended. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The favorable report is adopted. Are there any additional amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered passed for third reading. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 885, Maryland Technology Development Corporation, Maryland Equity Investment Fund, established. Favorable.
Question for the House is the adoption of the favorable report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. The favorable report is adopted. Gentleman from Calvert.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I have a question about this bill as well for the floor leader.
Floor leader.
So I look right this time. Okay. So my question is, this is the Maryland Technology Development Corporation Maryland Equity Investment Fund. What is that?
Still in with the equities as far as investment funds for the retirement accounts.
It's investment. So where's the money coming from? I'm sorry?
It's coming from the retirees from the state.
So it's coming from the retirees from the state, and then that money is going to the Department of Commerce. Is that right?
An unallocated general fund.
To TEDCO? Is that
TEDCO.
who's? And then TEDCO is now going to be a venture capitalist?
They already are.
But this is making it permanent, it looks like to me, and giving them more money. Is that about right?
Just for 1 year.
Just for 1 year. So how much money are we giving TEDCO to become a government-controlled bank in venture capital?
They already make these types of investments right now.
How much money are we giving them?
$10 million.
$10 million. Okay. And is there any limit to their investments or what they can invest in?
Yes, it'll be in line with the existing investments.
And why is it, or does the bill have any provision in it to maybe study why it is that Maryland doesn't have sufficient investment banks in it, or venture equity, venture funds, or venture capital funds in Maryland? Because clearly that must be an issue if we're creating a state-controlled venture capital fund.
Yeah. So TEDCO was already engaged in this process.
But there's no study in the bill as to why Maryland doesn't have more private equity companies?
There is no study.
There's no study?
No.
Was there any discussion in the committee as to why Maryland doesn't have private equity companies and private banks investing in Maryland? Why they're not doing that? And why we need the government solution instead?
No, it was never a topic of
Got
discussion.
it. Thank you.
Are there
Madam Speaker, I do have a
the
question.
gentleman from Queen Anne's?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Just
Caroline.
one question. I think this bill goes above and beyond that, too. I think what it does in FY24, it actually holds 10% of any excess revenue that's not spent in FY24 and gives it to TEDCO up to $10 million. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yes.
Is there any other line item in the budget? Is there any other agency, any other department that where we have this provision where we're going to tie the excess revenue over expenses to any certain agency?
It already occurs, and it's noted in the fiscal note as well.
That's the current practice for TEDCO?
It's new for TEDCO.
I'm sorry?
It's new. It's new for TEDCO.
New for TEDCO, but my question is there any other agency out there where we're going to allow them to spend any excess revenue?
No, there isn't.
So this is new. All right. All right, very good. Thank you.
Is there any further debate? If not, the clerk will call the time. Excuse me. I'm trying to rush this. Hearing none, the bill is ordered, passed for third reading. Clerk will read next bill.
Senate Bill 929, Admissions and Amusement Tax, Sports Wagering, Prohibition, favorable.
The question for the House is the adoption of the favorable report. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Favorable report is adopted. Are there any amendments to the bill or to its title? Hearing none, the bill is ordered past the third reading. Quorum call.
Madam Speaker,
Clerk will take the call. There being 133 members present, calendar of third reading House Bills number 104. The clerk will read the first bill.
House Bill 838, Economic Development, Western Maryland Economic Future Investment Board and Senator George C. Edwards Fund Establishment.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker,
Madam Speaker.
Gentleman from Washington, Allegheny.
To explain my vote,
To explain your vote.
I'm proud body to vote green for House Bill 838, and just want to acknowledge the hard work that Senator Edwards and Delegate Buckle, I'm sorry, permission to use the...
Yeah, it's a little late, but yeah, permission granted.
'Tis the season. Proud of the two sponsors of this bill and the overall Western Maryland task force that this body was allowed. So thank you very much for everyone for voting green. It's proud to know these two colleagues. They've done a wonderful job, and I want to thank them personally. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Okay. Is there any further debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll. There being 134 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 838, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Calendar of third reading House Bills number 105. The clerk will read the first bill.
House Bill 290, Hate Crime Civil Remedy.
Is on third reading and final passage. Gentleman from St. Mary.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Could the floor leader rise? I have a question or two.
Floor leader.
Thank you.
Hey, good morning.
Good morning.
I just had a couple questions on this. My knowledge on the judiciary is limited. Does the person have to be convicted criminally of a hate crime before they can sue civilly?
No, they do not.
So I'm reading the legislation here, and it talks a lot. They can sue for pain and suffering, emotional distress, mental anguish, loss of enjoyment. So what is the criteria? Because I know a lot of people have, suffer a lot of that just by going on their Twitter account.
So why don't you clarify your question a little bit for me? What do you mean exactly?
Well, I guess what I'm getting to is, what's the threshold for committing a hate crime and being able to sue civilly? Is it like words? I mean, can you hurt somebody's feeling and now you can be charged with a hate crime?
Well, under the Hate Crimes Act, which is an act that actually provides for someone to be criminalized for, it indicates various steps on what it means or what a hate crime really is about. So taking that measure of what a hate crime is, defining it, you can also use it in this way, because what we're trying to do again is just to give victims additional redress, okay? So you can actually have someone that is prosecuted for a hate crime, but also we want to do for the victim something else, and that is to provide them with damages as a result of a hate crime.
But you said that a person doesn't have to be convicted of the hate crime to be able to sue
That is correct.
civilly, and I've read
They are different causes of action, okay? So
Right, and I read
you
that
can be prosecuted, okay, which means there's a criminal effect, all right? Or you can be civilly, okay? There can be a civil cause of action for the damages as a result of that hate crime.
So I'm guessing my question is, how far do you go with the hate crime?
So
I mean,
listen.
is it really the intent of the person that is the victim? Like, who's the arbitrator? But since there's no correlation now, that before, if it was criminal, you would have to be charged by a police officer and destruction of property. But now that it can be civilly, law enforcement is kind of taken out of the equation here. What is the threshold?
Okay, so what happens is if you file a civil action, it is up to the judge, okay, to make a determination as to whether it is a violated hate crime and whether damages are going to be awarded.
So how do you reconcile that? Well, first, let me ask you, is there any type of sovereign immunity for elected officials in this? I hate for you to say something and a bunch of people with MAGA hats sue you.
Listen, I don't know much about sovereign immunity for legislators, okay, as far as that goes, or elected officials with this. But I can certainly tell you that if a cause of action is filed, okay, someone can possibly be awarded damages. And that's what this bill just does. It just gives people additional redress who have been victimized, okay? That's all it does. Very simple.
Well, I appreciate you answering my question. Madam Speaker, on the bill, third reader.
On the bill.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'm extremely skeptical of this bill. We have freedom of speech in this country, and I think this bill looks at a way to almost silence any type of opposition against that freedom of speech. Over the last 6 months, we've seen this go pretty far. 6 months ago, we had the Attorney General for the United States release a memo targeting parents that showed up at school boards as domestic terrorists. And in this day and age where people are gathering, chanting violence, silence is violence, I'm skeptical and this bill could possibly be misused. So unfortunately, I must vote no to it. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Young lady from Baltimore County.
I'm Speaker. I too have concerns about this bill. I would love to be able to vote for it. Hate crimes are atrocious and disgusting, and there should be a low tolerance for that kind of behavior in our state, but this bill does not have appropriate guardrails. The required amount of evidentiary certainty for a civil case is lower than it is in a criminal case. Criminal cases require reasonable doubt. That's not what this does. And having a member of society labeled as guilty of a hate crime using just a preponderance of the evidence is unacceptable. If you wanted to pass this law with a criminal charge being required or a guilty verdict being required, you would see that I would put a green vote up on this board. But that's not what this bill does. I would have loved to have been able to support it, but I'm disappointed that we weren't able to come to some kind of reasonable agreement that people should actually be guilty of hate crimes before they're being sued for hate crimes. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Young lady from Anne Arundel.
I have a question for the floor leader.
Floor leader.
We all saw a situation at the Oscars in which Will Smith slapped Chris Rock. Was that a crime?
Yes, it was.
And Chris Rock decided not to press charges. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Does he have the right to sue Chris Rock? I mean, does he have the right to sue Will Smith for civil damages?
I believe so.
Now, let's say that Will Smith slapped Chris Rock because he doesn't like people name who starts with C and ends, with a K. So he slapped him just because of maybe the way he looks or the way he talks or whatever his religion is. Would that be a hate crime?
Yes, if it's within the protected classes, yes, it would be.
And if Chris Rock decided, I don't want to press charges, did the act still occur?
Yes, it most
It doesn't
certainly did.
erase the act. The act still occurs. A crime is a crime, whether or not someone prosecutes. A murder is a murder. If someone dies, that family still has the ability to get civil remedy for wrongful death action. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure that the crime is not related to whether or not you can recover under civil damages.
Correct.
Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker.
Gentleman from, I think, who came up? Baltimore and Hartford.
Thank you. Will the bill leader rise? Now,
yes.
We're talking about Chris Rock, and him being struck by Will Smith. But the truth of the matter is that this could be simply someone saying something about someone, and that could be considered a hate crime.
It depends on what the jury and the judge decide.
So if you or I were at a debate and someone stood up at that debate and said, I believe marriage should only be between a man and a woman, that could be considered a hate crime, and that person could be sued for that.
No, that's something totally different, okay?
Well,
we're
someone
not
could steal-
talking about the victim in the sense of who they are. If you were to say something
Well, the victim-
explicit about the two parties,
But the
meaning
victim could be the person sitting in the debate who is a married couple of the same sex, and they could be offended by that and consider that a hate crime against what they're doing. Or it could be someone say, I don't believe a woman should be able to use a man's room, or man shouldn't be able to use a woman's room, and that person could be in that debate, and they could then file charges. Let me take it one step further. Those people could be out in front of an abortion clinic expressing their views that abortion is wrong because of their biblical beliefs or non-biblical beliefs. It doesn't matter, because many people, whether they have religion or not, believe that abortion is wrong. So they could be charged with a hate crime for voicing their opinion. And I hear voices over here as I'm talking. No, I'm talking to the leader on the bill, so I don't need any help. But thank you. And I don't consider that a hate crime.
Gentlemen, would you get going with you?
If I can. So, like the good delegate said over here, there is no guardrails on this. Someone doesn't have to be physically touched, hit, to be considered a hate crime. I mean, I know myself, I was dragged into federal court because my community was upset about a Muslim-only community. And I thought that was against the Constitution. I wouldn't go down in Baltimore City and have an Irish-only Catholic community. That's wrong. Everyone's the same. Everyone's equal. But I was sued over it. Didn't touch anybody, just simply sued for asking the question, is this unconstitutional? And the state of Maryland spent a lot of money on that lawsuit. Took probably over a year. So I see this as very dangerous. I see this as something not just a physical touching, but simply someone feeling, I don't like your words. And I don't like Nazis' words. I hate Nazis' words, but I believe they have a right to say them so we can know exactly how much of an ass they really are. So is this only about someone physically hitting someone, or is this also about words?
Again, as I mentioned earlier, it is up to a judge to determine what the hate crime is, okay, and whether there has been a violation. Now, you mentioned quite a few things, and I'm obviously, I don't know all the detail of your situation, but again, I would say that's up to the judge to determine what that was, you know, whether it was simple assault, whatever it was, okay, in any kind of matter like this. And that's all we're simply saying is give people a cause of action, give the victims an opportunity to come back and have a cause of action for the damages they have suffered.
Well, finally, I'll say, Madam Speaker, it's up to us, right here, right now, whether we're going to pass this or not and put people in that harm's way. So I don't think I'm going to be voting.
Again, I don't agree that there's any harm's way necessarily, okay? What I agree with is that victims need this opportunity.
You didn't spend over a year in federal court representing your people, representing your people, representing her people, representing the entire people of the United States that we're not allowed to discriminate people. You weren't stuck in court.
So let me just tell you this.
Thank you.
I'm definitely offended right now by what you're saying, okay? Because I don't know what you're exactly implying. But
What
if
I'm
you have
saying
something
is
that
you
want to
weren't in that
clarify,
situation where you were sued for making sure that people's rights were defended.
I think this needs to call. Clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker?
Madam Speaker? May I
Explain your vote.
To explain my
2
vote.
minutes.
I know that this bill was brought with the best of intentions, but this is not just a bill of words or of actions. Hate crimes are in essence thought crimes. If a white person hits a black person, there is a presumption that it is a hate crime. You all are in the majority now, and your opinions have a great deal of weight. Consider when and if you should
Gentlemen, can you explain who's a you all and in the majority? Who's a you all?
Oh, the you all is my colleagues in the opposite side of the aisle from myself. Obviously, it's not us.
Just wanted clarification who the you all was. That's all.
My apologies. My colleagues on the other side of the aisle. You are in the majority. Your opinions are in the majority. And just consider, even when your opinions are not, things that you do can be interpreted to be a hate crime regardless of what you intended. I really am terrified of being able to be sued for thoughts or suing anybody for thoughts. I just think it's wrong, so that's why I'm voting no.
Speaker.
To explain your vote, gentlelady from Prince George.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'm proud to cast a green vote for this bill. Let me be really clear. We're talking about not thoughts, but actual actions, hate actions. And if you were suing on this bill that we're talking about, you would actually have a damage done to you that you were asking the court to make you whole. That is the entire point of civil remedies, right? It can't just be someone saying something to you. There was an action, whether it was physical, economic, etc., that the court will find. I thank my colleagues for voting green. Stand strong in this way and don't have rhetoric that is putting people in situations about their intentions, but the reality of relief for victims. And in many, many cases, people need this legislation, as we've said previously here on the floor, that it might not be something that is done in criminal court, but in your civil court, you will have the opportunity to be made whole again by the actual actions that were done to you in a hate crime to make you and your family whole. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker.
Gentlelady from Montgomery.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Explain my vote. I am very proud to vote for this legislation. I spent most of my professional career defending First Amendment rights as a journalist. This is not about First Amendment rights. It's not about thoughts. It's about hate. And if you perpetrate hate on someone, you should pay a price. Whether or not you're charged criminally for that is at different circumstances, as the floor leader and others have said. But I do think that it's really important that we provide victims of hate crimes redress of what's happened to them. Thank you.
Madam Speaker.
Prince George.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Colleagues, I rise to explain my vote on behalf of Richard Collins III, who was tragically murdered at the University of Maryland when I attended a handful of years ago. I want to echo the comments made by my colleagues who are speaking in support of this bill. I want to thank everyone for voting in favor of it. But I also want to point out that the hate crime charge was thrown out regarding that case. And hopefully these civil remedies are available to his family and other families that have gone through such tragedies. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Gentleman from Frederick.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise to explain my vote. I commend the attempt to address wrongs that have been proven as wrongs. Nobody wants a synagogue or a mosque or a church attacked, and if it happens, there should be penalties, civil and criminal. But that's not this bill. Last night in Frederick, we had over 100 parents showed up at the Board of Education review hearing on some new regulations that the parents found to be atrocious, teaching age 4 and 5-year-olds things regarding gender identity and expression. And these parents said this is not appropriate for our children behind the parents' backs to be taught this at this age. And they were outraged. And apparently, according to the news report, there was an activist in the room who left in a fury and said that they felt that there was emotional distress and pain and suffering for hearing the parents express their views. And so hearing this debate today underscores the fact that the war on parents is real, and this could in fact entrap parents in the state of Maryland who are simply looking out for the best interests of their children, and that's why I voted no.
Gentlelady from Montgomery.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. As someone who has spent a lot of her career defending the First Amendment and looking into hate crimes, I would recommend those who vote against this bill to read the Maryland state law on hate crimes and what they are, and understand the intersection between hate crimes and the First Amendment. Hate crimes law have been upheld as constitutional for the exact reason that they are not just speech. And we do not have an unfettered right to free speech. There are limitations on each and every one of our constitutional rights. So for that reason, I am very proud to cast a green vote for this bill. Thank you.
Young lady from Baltimore County.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Just to explain my vote and respond to my colleague from Prince George's, a few years ago, we passed a bill to address the concerns that happened when Richard Collins III was murdered. We passed it almost unanimously, one opposition vote. And we did so because at that time, hate crimes had to be the only instigating factor in the murder. And we addressed that as a body already together in honor of him and in honor of hopefully no one else that is murdered based on their skin color or their religion or their beliefs. So that is something that I supported and that 99% of us supported. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Any further debate? Hearing none, the clerk will take the call. There being 94 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 290, having received the Constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read next bill.
House Bill 340, Election Law, Campaign Finance Enforcement.
It's on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 97 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 340, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read next bill.
House Bill 561, Child Custody, Cases Involving Child Abuse or Domestic Violence, Training for Judges.
It's on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 132 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 561, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read next bill.
House Bill 589, Adult Protective Services Work Group to Study Best Practices for a Vulnerable Adult Registry in Maryland.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 133 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 589, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read next bill.
House Bill 896, Maryland Stadium Authority, Increase of Bond Authorization, Camden Yards.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 123 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 896, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read next bill.
House Bill 897, Economic Development, Sports Entertainment Facilities and Events, Prince George's County Blue Line Corridor Facilities and Racing Facilities.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 121 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 897, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Senate calendar of third reading, Senate bills number 29. The clerk will read the first bill.
Senate Bill 291, Maryland Consolidated Capital Bond Loan of 2022.
Recognizing the floor leader.
Floor leader. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I have a floor amendment. Oh, let me get my reading glasses. Amendment 843824/1.
Amendment number 1.
Move so much be considered the reading of the amendments.
So ordered.
The amendment makes some technical changes as well as adding certain projects and certain pre-authorizations. Move the amendment.
Question for the House is the adoption of the amendments. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Amendments have been adopted.
Madam Speaker.
Gentleman from Baltimore County.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I just wanted to speak on the bill just for a brief minute. That I think the committee knows I'm pretty fiscally conservative. I try to be pretty cautious with the taxpayer money. But after seeing the work the committee did on this bill and realizing how worthy a lot of the causes are, whether you look at healthcare projects like the Shock Trauma Center, you look at Clifton Perkins Hospital, I think there's a Heart and Vascular Center in Western Maryland, Shepherd Pratt, which I believe is in my district or on the border of the Senate district. Great causes in public safety, I believe a fire department in Frostburg, a police station in Frederick, also a police training facility in Prince George County. You have facilities, well, economic development projects like the Howard Street Tunnel, which I think I can support as well. You have grants going to seniors. We all love our seniors. And then, of course, construction money, renovation money for schools. So, again, I'm not always on board with a lot of spending, but I do think this is a bill I can support due to the worthiness of a lot of the causes. And since we're going to be spending this money in a surplus year in a cautious way, I will be supporting this bill. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Gentleman from Calvert.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you for calling on me. So, Madam Speaker, I do have an amendment at the desk. It's amendment number 693021/1.
Amendment number 1.
Move so much be considered the reading
We
of...
don't have your amendment, so we can't address what we don't have.
So I did take one up there. Would you mind taking this up to the clerk? I did give it to the floor leader as well, just so you know. I gave it to Marcus. Yeah. It's coming up. There you go. You want to defend it? I thought Marcus was going to defend it since he's the guru.
Normally, the amendment office brings it up. We didn't have it. So.
No problem, Madam Speaker. I understand.
All right, you have to explain it since there's only one copy. Yeah.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Well, the floor leader has a copy, and I have a copy. I'm happy to send this back up there with mine once I read it. It's amendment number 693021/1.
Amendment number 1.
Move so much be considered the reading of the amendment, Madam Speaker.
So ordered.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. So, ladies and gentlemen, this simple amendment removes the funding in the budget. I think it's $250,000 that the taxpayers are handing over to Casa de Maryland. That's what this particular bill does. I do have a couple of questions for the floor leader, though, about this amendment. I'm not sure who that would be.
Sure.
Sure.
You have your question about your amendment?
Correct. Correct.
I don't know much about your amendment. I just saw it, but
Well, the amendment
I'm happy
gets-
to explain it to you if you want.
So
First of all, your amendment eliminates a pre-auth, not funding, so you should know that about your amendment.
So-
Pre-auth is very different than funding.
Okay. So there's $250,000 in the budget that's being handed over from the taxpayers
No,
of
it's a
Maryland.
pre-auth, but okay, I understand your point.
Is the money coming from the state of Maryland to Casa de Maryland?
They're C3, nonprofit.
Right. So the money is coming from the state of Maryland to Casa de Maryland, yes or no?
They're C3 nonprofit. I'm going to answer it the same way
So-
anytime you ask.
I think the answer is that the taxpayers of Maryland are giving $250,000 to Casa de Maryland. I think that's the proper answer. And what is Casa de Maryland going to use the $250,000 of taxpayer money
Well, I can
for?
tell you some of the things they've used their headquarters for just recently during the pandemic. They've vaccinated 10,000 of the citizens and the constituents, our constituents in the state of Maryland. They've handed out food during the pandemic. They have actually collected checks for landlords to ensure that not only these tenants don't become in arrears, but the landlords with their loans don't become in arrears. There's dozens of great nonprofit things that they provide our citizens. We'd be here all day if I talked about all the good work CASA does, but I don't know that you're really looking for that anyway.
So the consolidated capital bond loan, this means that they're getting $250,000 to presumably build something. What are they building?
Their headquarters, as I described, they've done all these services out of their existing headquarters,
So they're
which
building
is
their headquarters.
owned by the C3 and leased by the C4.
How do we know they need money?
This was a Senate ad, honestly, so, you know, I presume they need money because they told us. That's usually how it happens.
So did they tell you that their 990 says that they have $19,590,000 in revenue in 2019?
No one has told me that.
So why would this organization with almost $20 million, according to their last 990,
I think we
need
went
$250,000 from the Maryland taxpayers to do all kinds of things, including, floor leader,
you know, the gentleman,
according to their website, now this, let me finish because this is important, because this, I'd love to hear your answer to this, including advocating with the money that you're giving them to abolish ICE, to make the United States less safe, which they have on their website in front of me.
Figure that's where you're going.
That
Look,
question?
a lot of the organizations we fund have revenue. Actually, most of the organizations in our capital budget do have revenue. The gentleman talked about some of the hospitals that we're funding. They have revenue. Should we not fund our hospitals because they have revenue coming in? I told you there are dozens and dozens of things that they are providing. That is what they're using the revenue for. If you think those things are good, you should resist the amendment. If you don't, then I guess you should adopt the amendment. For me, and I guess I'll sit down here, I do think the services they provide are good and worthwhile, and I think I've answered your question. I think the amendment's pretty clear.
Except
Thank you.
that you said that you were talking about hospitals, and we're talking about an advocacy organization that's using $250,000 to advocate for getting rid of ICE at our border, which keeps the American people safe. I'm just not sure how that is defensible. Moreover, Madam Speaker, this particular organization, Casa de Maryland, has $19,590,000 in revenue in 2019, which is the last 990 that they filed. In addition to that, no, it's 19 million. It says it right here. In addition to that, they even have investment income. So in other words, Casa de Maryland is investing money and making money on the money that they're investing, and we're still giving them money. And then that's not it. That's not the only thing. That's not the only thing. Casa de Maryland are the same individuals who are out front here in front of the state capitol. So we have taxpayer-funded protesters, individuals who are here illegally who are asking for free stuff out front, and we're paying them.
Is the gentleman pressing his amendment?
That's why I'm arguing the amendment, Madam Speaker, and it's a
Okay,
principle.
on the amendment, all in favor, signify by
Speaker,
saying
it's a principled
aye.
amendment. It's a principled amendment. I would just like to finish.
No.
Roll call, Madam Speaker.
Roll call.
Madam Speaker.
To explain my vote, Madam Speaker.
To explain your vote, young lady from Baltimore County.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'm disappointed to see that we're cutting off my colleague from Southern Maryland when he's trying to explain a principled amendment which I've probably myself offered in the past. If we're going to get through the next few days, I think we should be a little bit more courteous to our members who want to be honest and explain their amendments, their votes. We're not asking for too much here. We just want to be heard.
Young lady from Baltimore County in Hartford.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. To explain my green vote for this wonderful amendment, I wish that the maker of the amendment had had a little more time to explain other activities that taxpayer-funded things are taxpayer money is funding an organization with $20 million in revenue who have people every day out on Lawyers Mall protesting something different. I don't think they need our money.
Madam Speaker, to explain my vote.
To explain your vote.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'm glad I have an opportunity to speak and explain my vote.
You're using up your 2 minutes.
You know, Madam Speaker, I was happy to offer this amendment because my wife, Madam Speaker, is an immigrant. She came here legally. She doesn't ask the state of Maryland for free stuff. And she sure doesn't ask to be paid by the state of Maryland to advocate for policy. When she comes to Annapolis and she advocates for policy, she does so in a principled way, and she uses her money. And her family came here legally, and I'm very proud of the fact that they came here legally because they respect the law of the land, and they believe that our border agents are heroes and that ICE are heroes. It's quite shameful, Madam Speaker, that any kind of funding would go to an organization that is trying to undermine the laws of the United States. And for all those reasons, that's why I voted yes on my amendment. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Majority Leader.
To explain my vote, look, it's a falsehood to say that capital funding would be used to fund protests. That's just simply false. If we were to go through every organization in the capital budget that receives funding, for example, a couple lines away, Catholic Charities received funding. I think Catholic Charities is a great organization. I do not agree with their stance on the issue of a woman's right to choose, but they're a great organization. I'm not going to argue they shouldn't get money for the C3 nonprofit services they provide because I disagree with them on something, because I don't like the free speech they are exercising. This is much ado about a relatively small line item in the capital budget. I support it because, as the gentleman from Prince George's County said, this organization has done fantastic work in all sorts of ways. This C3 organization has done tremendous charitable works in our communities, and I support that work. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Anyone else to explain their vote? Not, the clerk will take the call. The amendment fails. Senate Bill 291 is on third reading and final passage. Clerk will take the call.
Madam Speaker.
Clerk will take the call. There being 129 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 291, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed.
Madam Speaker.
Yes, gentleman from Frederick.
Just real quick, I want to thank the chair and the capital budget chair, vice chair, or committee chair for working with Frederick County on a few projects, and that's why I voted green. Thank you.
Madam Speaker.
Gentleman from Anne Arundel.
Is it appropriate now to do a vote change?
Yes, if you.
House Bill 340 from red to green. Thank you.
Gentleman from Talbot.
House Bill 897 to the green.
Gentleman from Frederick.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. House Bill 561 to nay.
Any other vote change? Okay. Calendar of third reading, Senate Bills number 30. Clerk will read the first bill.
Senate Bill 15, Election Law, Campaign Finance Enforcement.
It's on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change your vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 99 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 15, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read next bill.
Senate Bill 17, Child Custody, Cases Involving Child Abuse or Domestic Violence, Training for Judges.
It's on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There be 130 votes in the affirmative. Senate Bill 17, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 71, hate crimes, civil remedy.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker.
Gentleman from
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Just to explain my vote, I'm concerned. I agree with people who said this isn't thought crimes. I mean, it is a thought crime, but you don't get in trouble because your thoughts. You get in trouble because you said it out loud, or you wrote it, or you preached about it. And that's my concern. In Canada, they've shut down free speech. You can't even read certain parts of the Bible on the radio because it could offend someone. They could consider it a hate crime. And I think this bill has the potential to go way, way, way too far. So I'd encourage us all to vote no. Thank you.
Madam Speaker.
Yes, gentleman.
To explain my vote. Thank you,
Explain
Madam
your
Speaker.
vote.
Thank you. I just want to explain my green vote for this bill, honestly, just by reading the fiscal note, which lists the hate crimes in the state of Maryland. We've heard a lot about thought crimes and preachers and freedom of speech. I just want to echo a few of my colleagues to just say that's not at all what the bill or the hate crime statutes in Maryland are about. I'm just going to read the hate crime statutes. Number 1, damaging property of a religious entity. Okay? That seems like something that maybe we want to sue people for. Number 2, obstructing exercise of religious beliefs by threat of force. Number 3, destruction of property. Number 4, damage to an associated building. And number 5, using a symbol or an item like a swastika to threaten or intimidate someone. Madam Speaker, I think that all of these hate crimes are very well considered by past iterations of the Maryland General Assembly, and I very much am so glad that the sponsors brought this bill so that plaintiffs can get some redress for the violations therein. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Gentlelady from Montgomery.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I wasn't planning to say something on this, but after the previous vote of the House version and the eloquence of my seatmate, I thought about what I heard today. When I heard my colleagues expressing concerns that they could be punished for having the wrong thoughts, it triggered a memory of how I grew up. As some of you know, I grew up during the Cultural Revolution in China. I grew up in the country at a time when people could literally be persecuted and even killed for having the wrong thoughts. There were kids and spouses turning over somebody's diary in their own family in order to get points and to show they were on the right side of history. But this is America. We have a court system. We have judges to make those decisions. You cannot just accuse someone and get a favorable ruling. So especially in the past couple of years, Asian Americans lived in fear because of the pandemic. Hate crimes became a reality for them, not just a thing of the past. And we need this bill more than ever. So for any colleagues of mine who are concerned about having the wrong thoughts, I just want to remind you that this is America. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam Speaker.
Gentlelady from Washington.
I know,
Washington
I changed places.
Yes, Washington.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. To explain my vote, after I remove my mask, yay. My concern is someone could abuse this. If this goes into law, they could abuse it. We look at the Justice Smollett and what he accused people of doing, wearing a MAGA hat, described the incident very vividly. It made all of us at the time very concerned, put up lots of social media posts about how egregious those things were until the truth came out. So that's my concern, that people can abuse this. Certainly, I mean, none of us support hate crimes. It's a bad thing, it's a terrible thing. If it happened, the person needs to face the full extent of the law. Being the first Black African-American woman here in the General Assembly as a Republican, I've received a lot of really mean messages in my inbox, threatening certain acts upon me. So again, we don't support hate crimes, but my concern is it can be abused. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker.
Gentleman from Baltimore City.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. As the House sponsor of the original Hate Crimes Act, I rise in support of this bill. Hate crimes are underlying criminal acts. We enhance the penalty because of the nature of the motivation to commit that act, because it's directed against people of certain characteristics. Such a law was approved by the Supreme Court unanimously, and this bill simply applies that standard to a civil action. Free speech is in no way harmed or limited by this bill. Thank you.
Madam Speaker.
Gentleman from Anne Arundel.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. You know, I am also an immigrant, a proud Lebanese immigrant. And, you know, as being Arab American, sometimes, you know, my a group of people get discriminated against in some instances. And I'd love to vote for this bill because no one in this chamber agrees with hate crime. The only problem with this bill today, and it pains me to have to go red on this one, is that I think it opens the door for abuse. And I hope in the future we can come back and make some amendments or fix some of the issues that a lot of us have with this bill so we can all vote green on it. Thank you.
Madam Speaker,
Gentleman from Baltimore County.
I'm voting red on this bill because I know if you vandalize a church, whether it's a hate crime or not, you can sue. And most of the things we're talking about here, the law already exists. You can file those lawsuits if somehow you are hurt or damaged, whether it's a hate crime or not. It doesn't have to be a hate crime to follow. So this is just political correctness, going amok, putting people in jeopardy, putting fear, like the person said, using a Nazi symbol to threaten somebody. Holding up a symbol doesn't threaten me. And as a lawmaker, we have all been threatened. So this is just a way of threatening people from coming out and protesting. I got to tell you, I've been here 20 years. I don't see the conservatives out there protesting like they used to because of things like this. They're under fear. They don't want to show up anymore. They're leaving the state of Maryland. So that's why I'm voting red against this. This is another political correct cancel culture attack the conservative movement. Thank you.
Majority Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I wonder if the floor leader might rise for some questions. Because
No.
oh, we're explaining votes.
Explaining votes.
Oh, well, then the floor leader, you don't need to rise. I appreciate you. She was about to jump up. Look, I'll explain my vote on this. When I first ran for office, I was knocking on doors in Olney. And I knocked on one particular door, or I was walking up to the door, and right before I walked up to the door, a gentleman came rushing out of the door. And he looked very distressed. And I asked what was wrong. And he said that one of the synagogues up the street had been vandalized. It had swastikas and other negative stuff written on it. And I was taken aback. Those types of incidents happen everywhere, but we like to think they don't happen in our own communities. This protects religious institutions from those types of crimes. It gives religious institutions the ability to get a civil remedy for something that isn't always prosecutable under the criminal law. There's a specific hate crime in the code that says you cannot stop somebody else from the free exercise of religion, but you don't have a civil remedy. Why should my church not have the same ability to sue somebody for violating that basic right under the law that I have to sue somebody for assaulting me? Why should it be treated any differently? That's why I'm voting green, Madam Speaker, for that gentleman and all the members of that congregation in Olney.
Gentleman from Talbot.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And it pains me to have a red vote up there today also. Hate crimes are the bottom of humanity. But the reality regarding this issue that we're debating is that civil suits and criminal suits are very different. The thresholds are not analogous in any way. And this legislation may serve a very important purpose. It also creates a potential for a very, very dangerous abuse. and for that, my vote is a red, and painfully so. It's important to distinguish the difference between a civil suit and a criminal suit. There are thresholds, there's requirements, there's things that go into a criminal suit that are very different than a civil suit. Thank you.
All right. Gentleman from Montgomery. Prince George's.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. In explaining my vote, first I want to thank Madam Speaker and the Senate President for, again, allowing us to institute racial impact notes to the way we analyze legislation. And I would advise many of my colleagues to look at the one for this bill that shows that hate crimes across the country, but even here in the old line state of Maryland, is on the rise for many groups. I just wanted to clarify, because one of my colleagues said that this was, I think, a political malfeasance or something that we were doing, right? The data shows that hate crimes, particularly for African Americans in this state, is on the rise. That isn't our opinion. That's data provided by the FBI Uniform Crime Report, which, as you know, we don't control. I think what this is going to do is that, people's likelihood to commit a crime is based on the likelihood they will be caught and punished by it. That's what the data is consistent, whether it's, a act of fraud or it's a criminal act of some sort. And I think this is another tool, whether it's for a synagogue in Bowie that recently had to deal with some hate crime issues, or our HBCUs getting bomb threats across the state of Maryland, and much more. The data is saying that this is a problem, and I thank the sponsors of this bill and the subcommittee for bringing forward this legislation to address it. This isn't an issue. Some of my colleagues here may not be dealing with this. That does not mean that it is not critically important to the people of our state, and that's why it's here, and I will let the data speak for itself. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker.
Okay, I would like to get this bill. You're explaining your vote?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, good. Gentleman from Baltimore County.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. As we know that since the beginning of the pandemic, hate crimes against many communities, including Asian Americans, have grown by 150%. 150%. And it is something that I'm sure my colleagues have felt at a level that none of us have been seen before, politics aside. People have been beaten. People have been taunted and savagely murdered. Communities are terrified, and we need to act. These communities are neglected, and their stories need to be told. They are a part of our largest community, and at this time, many don't have a voice. There is a lot we need to reckon with, and we can start here and now by taking measures to pass hate crime legislation that will help protect our communities and send a green signal that the hate crime is not okay. Madam Speaker, I'm voting green on this legislation. Thank you.
Gentleman from St. Mary's.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I ride to vote against this legislation for what a lot of people on my side of the aisle has already said, but I do want to talk a little bit about the data, because we're hearing about how it's on the rise and there's so much of this. We do have a new impact report, disparity impact report included with this bill. And last year there was 321 hate crimes in this state, but there's 6.3 million people in this state. To put this in perspective, there's less hate crimes committed in Maryland than there was murders in Baltimore City. All of it is tragic. What we're simply stating is, what we're talking about is not vandalizing churches and destroying property, which is already illegal. We're concerned about the misuse of this bill. We're concerned about the misuse and the legal threshold of a civil penalty and being used to intimidate and silence political opposition. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Clerk will take the call. There being 94 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 71, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 114, false claims, civil penalties or damages, authorization to recover, and exceptions to general fund deposit by comptroller.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change your vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 133 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 114, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 357, Adult Protective Services Work Group to Study Best Practices for a Vulnerable Adult Registry in Maryland.
It's on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change your vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 134 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 357, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Calendar of third reading, Senate Bills number 31. The clerk will
Madam
read the
Speaker,
first bill.
could I do a vote change? Actually, not a vote change. My red button didn't work on Senate Bill 15. Want to be recorded in the red. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Yes. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'd just like to do a vote change on House Bill 561 from green to red. Thank you.
Calendar of third reading, Senate Bills number 31.
Senate Bill 260, Department of General Services Broker Rebate Fee Fund established.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 135 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 260, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 402, Employees Retirement and Pension Systems Reemployment Earnings Limitation COVID-19 Exemption.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 135 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 402, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 409, State Retirement and Pension System COVID-19 Related Death Benefits Sunset Extension.
It's on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 98 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 409, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 410, Teachers Retirement and Pension Systems Reemployment.
It's on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 135 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 410, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 411, Maryland Senator Edward J. Casemeyer College Investment Plan State Matching Contribution, Age of Account Holder.
It's on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will take the call.
Madam Speaker.
Everyone recorded the vote. Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 134 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 411, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read the next bill.
Senate Bill 417, State Employee and Retiree Health and Welfare Benefits Program, Eligibility for Enrollment and Participation, Independent Agency Health Insurance Option Act.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? Gentleman from Talbot.
Madam Speaker, I've got an amendment at the desk. 253521/1.
Amendment number 1.
Move so much be considered the reading of the amendment.
So ordered.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you, colleagues, for the opportunity to offer this amendment. The amendment's an important amendment. It rarely gets an opportunity to be voted by this body. I know I'm bringing this amendment on a third reader on a Senate bill, but it's important. It's important to all our state retirees. This amendment would restore the state retirees' prescription drug plan. That's something I believe everybody in this chamber should be aware of. I believe everybody's heard from their retirees. I've been told over and over, we can't afford it, we can't do it. This goes back to a time when money was taken from the Highway User Revenues Fund, when the state's budget was adjusted, and it's time to fix this back for our retirees. It's ironic, we've got a bill that's pending right now in the House and the Senate that would create a new agency in the Department of Labor and hire 400 new employees. We can come up with the money to grow government. We can come up with the money to hire new employees, but we can't come up with the money, we can't come up with a rationale to cover this prescription drug plan for past retirees. They're not forgotten. They did their time. They committed their service. They fulfilled all their expectations to the state of Maryland, and we owe them the obligation to fix this problem for them, and certainly not to avoid it by not voting on it. If you talk to a retired state trooper, a retired teacher, I have not yet met one that said changing their prescription drug program was fair or a good thing to do, or that their current system is doing what they want it to do. They serve the state of Maryland. As we go forward and allow the state to grow, why not take the time to make it right for our retirees? I press this amendment, Madam Speaker.
Madam Speaker.
Floor Leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I would just encourage the body to resist the amendment. We have a bill that addresses the retiree prescription drug issue in the committee, and unfortunately, we've already passed the House version of this. This is the Senate version. It passed unanimously out of the committee, and adding such a robust amendment is why there's a bill, because we should have discussion on it. We should have public comment, and adding it on to a third reading amendment to the Senate bill I don't think is appropriate, and I would encourage the body to vote against it. Thank you.
Madam Speaker.
Gentleman from Baltimore County.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise in support of this amendment. I've had the honor to serve in the General Assembly for a long time, and I've also served under several different governors. I've had the honor to deal with a lot of state employees in that time, and I've always appreciated the work that they did and how they took very seriously that they served the people of Maryland. Now, during that time, under various governors, we've had budgetary problems. And the state employees were called on to sometimes take a day off here and there, not to receive that pay increase that they were really entitled to. They have been very dedicated not only to this General Assembly, but they've been dedicated to the people of Maryland. And I think it's important that we recognize who these folks are that we're denying this drug prescription program to. They're not young. They're not in their 40s. They're not in their 50s. Most of these folks are in their 80s. And I realized that this General Assembly had passed a bill several years ago in an effort to try to at least give them some recourse. But when you're 85 years old, and you got to look at a system that is a 3-tiered system, go on the internet, collect all your bills that you had to pay out on your drug prescription over the year, and try to figure out how to get your money back, that's really difficult, because a lot of these folks, they didn't grow up using computers. So they have a lot of problems. And sometimes they have issues that they're very sick, and they have to get somebody else to do that. That was a big hurdle, and I'm glad that in the court case, the judge decided that he would just keep it the way it is right now. Look, when these folks first came to work for the state of Maryland, a deal was made. They came here and they were told, yeah, your salary's not going to be so good. It's not going to be like it is in the private sector. But guess what? When you go to retirement, you're going to have a good retirement. You're going to have good benefits. And let me tell you something. I remember that years ago because I applied. I was in the printing business. I ended up applying to the state of Maryland under purchasing to be a purchasing agent, a print buyer. And I looked at the salary they offered me, and I kind of laughed about it. I said to the guy, I said, "You got to be kidding me." He goes, "Yeah, but just keep this in mind. Good retirement, good benefits." I've been in business a long time. And one of the things I've always had done is honored whatever deal I made with my employees. There is a way out of this, folks, and that's to pass this amendment. We should have done it years ago. And this thing went right through the House in a BRFA bill, and nobody saw it. Nobody saw what we were going to do. And if we had done this properly through attrition, the cost would have come down. But no, we didn't do that. And I like to remind a lot of members of this body that, a lot of these folks, they're union people. And we've always been supportive of union members in this body and lots of legislation that we have passed. These are good people. They deserve to get that benefit. I remember years ago in Baltimore County, they changed the teachers' retirement benefit. But what they did is, as of a certain date, you had a choice to stay in the old system or to go in a new system. If you were hired beyond that date, then you were in the new system. We should have done that. We should have done that. These folks have served the people of Maryland for years, and they did it with honor, and they did it with integrity. And we should do the same thing to honor those folks today, and let's get rid of this court case, and we can do it by passing this amendment. And I find it interesting how many of you came to me who wanted to be on the bill that was before the committee. Yes, we did have a bill hearing, and that was it. Crickets. Crickets, folks. Crickets from the committee. Not a word. Nothing. Because they didn't want to pass this piece of legislation that I had introduced. So I'm saying to you, all those who came to me to be sponsored this bill, I hope you will support us in passing this amendment, and let's do the right thing for these folks. A deal is a deal. And let me say this in closing. $6.5 billion we found this year to increase our budget. We're sitting on $7 billion surplus. And the answer is to these folks, sorry, we can't help you. There is nothing we can do. And I understand the reason why they did this. I understand what they were trying to do because of the pension issues that we're going to have in the future, and to try to reduce the cost of that. But this is not the way to do it. This is not fair to those who gave many, many years to the state and who willingly took the pay cuts at times, took off at times, who didn't get the increases that they well deserve. So I'm asking that we would do the right thing and pass this amendment. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Majority Leader.
I move to special order the amendment and bill to the appropriate time.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, the SB 417 will be special order to the appropriate time. Clerk will read next bill. Do you have a date? Monday, right? Monday.
Senate Bill 419, Opioid Restitution Fund, Appropriation of Settlement Funds and Grant Program.
So on third reading and final passage, is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker?
Has everyone recorded the vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 133 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 419, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Calendar of third reading, Senate Bills number 32. Clerk will read the first bill.
Senate Bill 51, Maryland Pediatric Cancer Fund Establishment.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker?
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 133 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 51, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read next bill.
Senate Bill 97, Clerks of the Circuit Courts, Bonds, Licenses, Oaths, and Commissions.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker?
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 134 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 97, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read next bill.
Senate Bill 442, Calvert County Public Facilities Bonds.
It's on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker?
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 135 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 442, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read next bill.
Senate Bill 458, Maryland Teachers and State Employees Supplemental Retirement Plans, Use of Minority Business Enterprises.
It's on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker?
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 116 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 458, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read next bill.
Senate Bill 585, Public Safety, Warrants, and Absconding.
It's on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker?
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 132 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 585, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read next bill.
Senate Bill 819, Governor's Office of Crime Prevention, Youth and Victim Services, Executive Director appointment.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker?
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 96 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 819, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Calendar of third reading, Senate Bills number 33. Clerk will read the first bill.
Senate Bill 4, Cybersecurity Scholarship Program, alterations.
It's on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker?
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 132 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 4, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read next bill.
Senate Bill 50, Higher Education, Return Peace Corps Volunteers in-state tuition.
It's on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker?
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 128 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 50, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read next bill.
Senate Bill 593, Department of Transportation and Spending Affordability Committee reports.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 134 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 593, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read the next bill.
Senate Bill 739, State Retirement and Pension System Investment Division Compensation.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 98 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 739, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read next bill.
Senate Bill 797, Human Services Cash Campaign Annual Appropriation.
It's on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 100 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 797, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk, read next bill.
Senate Bill 801, State Health Plan, Chesapeake Bay Commission, Retirees.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate?
Madam Speaker.
If not,
Madam Speaker.
yes.
I've got
Gentleman
amendment.
Talbot.
I've got an amendment at the desk. It's 90312/1.
Amendment number 1.
Move so much be considered the reading of the amendment.
So ordered.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Colleagues, the amendment before you today would add to this bill, which allows retirees from Marbitco and the Bay Commission to join the state health care plan. This would also allow, the amendment would allow certain firefighters to join the list who would be able to access the state health plan. Those firefighters were employed with, at the time, BWI Fire and Rescue Department between October 1, before October 1, 1993. So these are retirees from BWI Fire and Rescue Fire Department who retired before October 1, 1993. The airport, which is now BWI Thurgood Marshall International, at one time was not owned by the state of Maryland. Those firefighters, between the switch from non-state of Maryland to being owned by the state of Maryland, somehow are in the Baltimore City Retirement Health Plan. They very much want to be afforded the opportunity to be included in the state health plan. So the amendment's straightforward. There was a bill to carry out this effect in Ways and Means. There was a hearing, and there was no resolution to the bill that was proposed. So it's here an amendment today. I'd urge all the members to support this. Those firefighters have served the airport and have served the state with distinction, and they deserve this opportunity. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Floor leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. If I could ask a question of the maker of the amendment.
Maker of the amendment.
Sure.
You referenced the bill. That was your bill, correct?
Correct.
In Ways and Means.
Correct.
Gotcha. So I don't think anybody here would, I don't think anybody in this chamber would deny the respect or admiration for our firefighters or first responders. I would just go back to the fact that amending it onto the bill on third reader for the Senate version isn't the place to do it, and would encourage the body to resist the amendment, and keeping in mind the fact that we do plenty for our first responders, including with their pensions, including with protecting them and making sure that they're protected under the law. And we just encourage the body to resist the amendment.
Yeah. And thank you. And there's nothing in this amendment that would suggest otherwise. We do support our first responders, absolutely. But those individuals who are retired, who served at BWI Fire and Rescue at that time, are not able to join the state health plan, and they very much would like to. And I press the amendment. Thank you.
On the amendment, all in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposition?
Roll call.
Roll call.
Madam Speaker?
Clerk will take the call. The amendment fails. Senate Bill 801 is on third reading and final passage. Clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker?
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? Not, the clerk will take the call. There being 129 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 801, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed. Clerk will read next bill.
Senate Bill 1005, State Retirement and Pension System, Divestment from Russia.
Is on third reading and final passage. Is there any debate? If not, the clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker?
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, clerk will take the call. There being 133 votes in the affirmative, Senate Bill 1005, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. Gentleman from Talbot.
Vote change, Madam Speaker. SB 458 to green. Thank you.
Gentleman from St. Mary's.
Vote change, Madam Speaker. SB 458 to red.
Gentleman from Frederick.
Vote change, Madam Speaker. SB 4 to nay.
Gentleman from Garrett.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. It's vote change SB 739 to red.
Gentleman from Montgomery.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My button didn't work. I'd like to be recorded in the green on Senate Bill 114. Thank you.
John Lady from Baltimore County.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Vote change SB 4 to red.
Any further vote changes? Okay. House Bill amended in the Senate. House Bill 460. The clerk will read the bill on the Senate amendments.
House Bill 460, Baltimore County Alcoholic Beverages Licenses, Transfers, Amendment Number 1.
Recognizing Vice Chair of the Committee.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. There's no amendment. We just moved not to concur and employee conferees.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it. Amendments are rejected. Clerk will read the message to the Senate.
Ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, the House of Delegates refuses to concur in the Senate amendments and respectfully request the Senate receive from its position. Should the Senate prefer a conference committee to confer the disagreeing votes of the two houses, the House appoints Delegate Valderrama Chair, Delegate T. Branch, and Delegate Howard. Said bill is returned herewith.
Concurrence calendar. The clerk will read the bill and the Senate amendments.
Concurrence calendar number 11, House Bill 133, Environment Sealant Products Prohibition, Safer Sealant Act of 2022, Amendment Number 1.
Recognizing the committee chair.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. We move to concur in the Senate amendments.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? I can't tell. Ayes have it. Gentlemen is rising for what?
I wanted to ask the chairman of the committee what the concurrence was. What are we changing or agreeing to?
Committee chair.
Yes, Madam Speaker. The amendment, which I believe conforms this bill to the Senate bill, alters the percentage of PAH by weight to 1%. I think previously it was 0.1%, so it's 10 times better.
I guess that's a matter of perspective. Can you just, I guess this is a concurrence, so that this is not a vote, but if you could tell me where the bill's posture is. Was there opposition to the bill, and perhaps who was opposing the bill? Thank you for
let me find out for you.
Thank you for that.
What's up? There was some opposition from some sealant manufacturers.
Okay, and people who use it?
You know, this product has been prohibited in four of our counties. It's not marketed anymore by the major retailers, big box retailers, and the committee overall didn't consider this to be super controversial, if I'm remembering correctly.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Madam Speaker, on concurrences, I don't normally stand up. This has been a bill that we've heard on a couple of readers and probably the Senate bill as well. So to my point and concern is that this is a bill that as you're trying to do work with products that actually do the job intended, I worry when we make these sort of changes when industry professionals are probably saying these changes will make the product less usable. There are a series of these sort of bills that happen through the years, and I would just stand in concern with that particular issue here. Thank you.
Yes, Madam Speaker. Thank you, Madam Speaker. Let me just say that the amendment that we're concurring with actually makes the bill less restrictive.
Okay. Let me repeat again. The question before the House is to concur in the Senate amendments. All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. House Bill 133 is on third reading and final passage. The clerk will call the roll.
Madam Speaker.
Has everyone recorded their vote? Does anyone care to change their vote? If not, the clerk will take the call. There being 92 votes in the affirmative, House Bill 133, having received the constitutional majority, is declared passed. That ends the work at the desk.
Madam Speaker.
Who's on? I don't know who's speaking.
Right here.
Gentleman from Anne Arundel.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. My button didn't work was brought to my attention on 819. And also the last bill we just voted on, I'd like to change my vote to red. And that was House Bill 133. Thank you.
Any other vote changes? All right. We will be in two sessions tomorrow. Any committee announcements? Health and Government Operations.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. That committee will be voting at 4:30 today, and I believe two subcommittees will meet between now and then, so please check your emails.
Judiciary.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, the House Judiciary Committee will have brief bill hearings at 1:30. We'll have a voting session after that time.
Environment and Transportation.
You know what? I'll wait to hear what the Chair of Rules says.
Okay. All right. Chair of Rules.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The House Rules Committee will be meeting in 10 minutes on Zoom. Thank you.
Okay. Environment and Transportation Chair.
No change of plans. The Environment and Transportation Committee will have a voting session at 1 p.m.
Madam Speaker.
Let me get through the committee. You are chairman, which I don't know about. So.
I'm the chairman of the Lebanese caucus. Yes, thank you.
Yes, let me. I will call it. Economic Matter.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The House Economic Matters Committee will be meeting for a voting session at 1:30 on Zoom. Again, at 1:30 on Zoom. Thank you.
Anything? Ways and Means? Anything?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Ways and Means Committee will not meet in full committee, but please pay attention for subcommittee meetings today. Thank you.
Baltimore County.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Baltimore County delegation will be meeting immediately after the session for a brief vote. Thank you. In the Old House Chamber.
Old House Chamber, yes. Any other delegations?
No.
Gentleman from Anne Arundel.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Lebanese caucus will be meeting in the lounge in the back after session. But I also wanted to correct my vote on 819 in the green. Thank you.
Yes. General Lay from Baltimore City. I don't which.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. On behalf of the District 41 delegation, I have the honor to introduce to this body some of the prestigious students from Forest Park High School in the gallery who came here all the way from our district in Baltimore City. Please join me in welcoming them.
Are there any other announcements, any caucuses now, announcements? Okay. Quorum call before adjournment.
Madam Speaker? Ding. We got an error.
Madam Speaker?
Yes, I said it. Yes, gentleman Frederick, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Soon to be, maybe. So, Madam Speaker, I was going to defer to the Wycomico County, but just may have slipped through, so I just wanted to recognize Miss Julie Giordano, and I think her husband or friend from Wycomico County. She's a teacher. Friend, okay. Thank you. Teacher and a leader in Wycomico County and a candidate for office, so it's good to have her here today.
Okay. Has everyone recorded their presence? So the clerk will take the call. There being 134 amendments present, the House is still in session. The clerk recognizing the majority leader.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move that the House stand adjourned until Thursday, April 7th at 10 a.m., Legislative Day, March 29th.